link in the Yamcast chat. Also put it in the news channel. Oh, where are you, my friend? You have such a lovely backdrop.
This is the temple where I live here in Los Angeles.
Oh, how lovely.
Okay, so welcome everyone who is here and tuning in. Let's see. Yep, we're starting now. So we will be here in the stage, and then there will also be this live stream component that you can watch through if you want to see me here at the temple where I live in Baldwin Park, LA. Yeah, so I'll start by just giving a general introduction about myself. I am Bhante Warapanyo. I am a 29-year-old American Buddhist monk, and I am very involved in Buddhism and meditation, living at the Buddhist monastery and Buddhist temples in Thailand, Myanmar. I just got back from Vietnam. Traveling around the world and doing good deeds, teaching meditation, practicing meditation, and doing many different activity of spiritual nature. So now I have been a monk this is my 4th year as a monk. I ordained in 2018, and I began my journey into meditation and spirituality, specifically meditation and Buddhism, in 2015 when I went to live at a Japanese Zen tradition, Western Buddhist monastery here in America, in New Mexico. So that's where I started my more intensive practice and training. And that eventually, living there for a year, led me to go from a position where I was very disturbed, suffering person, so much emotional, psychological suffering, whatever it might be, to someone who had a lot more peace and a lot more happiness and freedom of mind. So after I lived there for a year, I journeyed outward and got involved in the kind of normal everyday activities of a person, to get a job and have a relationship, all that jazz. And I was successful in that. And then in 2018, I came to the resolution that that was not what I was interested in doing, not what I wanted to be involved with. And that led me to moving to Thailand and to ordaining as a monk. And that's how I have gotten up to this point in my life. So I think we can open it up now for questions and hopefully answers as well. Maybe you want to share something. Yeah.
Yes, well, of course, thank you for joining us. And I think a first preliminary question would be, I don't know if you'd consider this somewhat of a teaching or a gathering, but what do you think is the best mindset to be in such a sangha such as this when asking questions on Buddhism? What's the best mindset to put oneself in?
Yeah. So really, we listen to these kind of talks from a place of the body or the heart. So we listen from the body, we listen from the heart. The intellectual mind is not so important. Your kind of jumping around conceptual mind is not so important. It's more to listen from the listening itself, to be listening from awareness rather than thinking. And so the thinking happens, the thinking comes up, but we come back to the breath, to the heart, to the body, and just to opening up to listening. That's how we should listen to certainly a Dharma talk or a teaching. And a Q&A with a Buddhist monk can also be similar to that, but it's almost that you listen to it as a guided meditation that you can participate in. Yeah, that's a good way to approach it.
Wonderful. So yeah, if anyone here has questions, please either raise your hand or put them in the Yamcast chat or on stream. There's a chat in Fonte's live stream on YouTube.
Yeah, especially people who are able to raise their hands and come up, then that's the best way to ask your question.
So, here, Seth Up's got their hand up. Come in, Seth Up, if you'd like.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah.
I just wanted to maybe get a foundation of what exactly you mean by spirituality.
Okay, what is spirituality? Spirituality is characterized by a willingness to see, seeing, to hear, hearing, to experience, experiencing. Spirituality is a willingness to detach and to abandon what we can call the created truth, or not to only live in the created truth, which is the stories, the thoughts, the games that we play with ourselves, but to take a step back from your constant attachment-based, self-based experience and to start investigating, looking more closely into experiencing itself, seeing itself, hearing itself, hearing without a self, seeing without a self or a person who is seeing only. So as we
Yeah,
get
that's
more and more involved in this kind of mindfulness and detachment, this is the spiritual life.
yeah, thank you for that. That's the best explanation I've had for that so far. So, but yeah, that covers my question.
Lovely. Redacted Image, did you have a question?
Yeah, I do. So, I can't recall if you like said what tradition you followed, but what are your thoughts on like being a Buddhist monk advocating for, peace and stuff, of using like martial arts and combat as a means of like, as a form of just mindfulness, like a lot of Mahayana warrior monks do.
So the Mahayana warrior monk or the Shaolin monk thing is not really real. There is, if those monks that you could say would be quote unquote real, you're talking about 5 people or 10 people or something like that, and they are not particularly more mystical than a general meditation focused monk. They just happen to also do martial arts, and maybe there's 1 or 2 or 3 or something like that who are particularly skillful in both meditation and both martial arts, but it's not a real thing. There are maybe over 1 million monks or around 1 million monks in the world, and the number who practice martial arts would be 1% or less, something like that. So the idea that we have about warrior monks or this kind of thing is not real.
So do you mind then if I ask, like, where does the idea of the warrior monk come from?
Maybe
Like,
it existed.
in popular culture.
Maybe it existed at one point in time. I haven't done the historical looking into of that. So at one point in time, it's possible that something like that did exist in China that was in relationship to the Shaolin Temple. But the popular culture of it is just related to fantasy and maybe that there was some history of that in China to some degree that was continued. But the modern Shaolin school is a performative martial arts institute. And the branches of that are even more so performative martial arts institutes, where if you go to a Shaolin branch, quote unquote, temple in the US, for example, there's likely to be no monk there at all. They might call themselves a Shaolin disciple or something like that, but they're not actually a Buddhist monk. They are someone who is focusing to various degrees of seriousness on a performative martial art that also, if you can move around like that, it has some practical use case with a Buddhist philosophical and Chinese cultural background. But it's not anything like hardcore monks in general are not extremely common, because it's very human. So the things that you see in movies are just characterizations of humanness, and humanness isn't so extreme most of the time. So even very serious, extreme, high-level monks are rare. But some kind of Shaolin martial arts, high-level meditation monk, maybe there's literally a handful of people that just happen to be that way. But the main training center for that idea of Shaolin martial arts is primarily a performative martial arts institute that has a Buddhist background, and there are monks there, and some of those monks practice martial arts, but it's not so fantastical, really.
Interesting. Thank you. Well, that was all. So
Nishant, yeah, I saw you had your hand up and you
So,
asked a question.
question on YouTube I want to answer.
Of course.
So Aiden says, hey, so how did you end up in Myanmar? I ended up in Myanmar by flight. Monks, I flew there. Okay. And then Aiden also says, I struggle with self-deprecating thoughts. I'm in no way spiritual as I can't get there, but I do resonate with Buddhist teachings. Any advice? You need to really be willing to get involved. It's like whether it's a mental health problem or a physical health problem, if you just lay in your bed and it's a kind of general curiosity that you want to do something about it, nothing's going to get done. You're laying in your room that's filled with trash and you're saying, boy, it would be nice if this was clean. Well, you've got to engage. You've got to step into it. You've got to do good deeds. Okay, and sometimes we do good deeds in a particular direction because we're not able to do good deeds through the power of mindfulness and detachment, which is to cure the root of the issue, of the problem. So if we struggle with self-deprecating thoughts or negative thinking, which a lot of Western people do, what we need to prioritize is developing and engaging with thoughts of loving kindness, thoughts of metta. All right, so I can share with you some resources that I recommend for loving kindness guided meditations. But it comes down to the same thing. You either get involved or you don't. You either make the decision to do good deeds, to practice, or you are just a spectator to your life, and your awareness of difficulty and suffering is never going to become an ability to evolve, to detach, to develop from that suffering. Okay, I just sent a resource list in the Yamcast chat. It's just a thing that I regularly share. I'll post that on YouTube as well. Oh, it's too many characters for YouTube. All right, we can take the next question.
Great. Yeah, Nishat?
Great. I was gonna actually ask you first, because I was not here from the beginning. Did you go to like a Buddhist temple and studied there,
Yes, that's
or
what you
like
have to do. To be a monk, you
okay,
have to join
yeah,
a monastery. You need to be accepted by a monastery and someone who's willing to take responsibility for you on the path. If you
okay.
don't have that, then you cannot ordain if you don't have that.
Well, what I was actually meaning to ask is we've we've heard before about the spiritual teachings in temples and stuff like that, but do they teach you anything scientific about maybe sciences, stuff they taught in the past? We all know that like in the Asian part, they're really advanced scientifically in the past, so do they give you any scientific teachings?
The scientific teachings that we are taught in Buddhism are related to mindfulness and detachment and the actions and processes to end suffering. Okay, the more that your mind is able to concentrate, to become still, to become stable, to become exacting and clear, that is to the degree that you will be able to be scientific even more than scientists are scientific, to be secular even more than secular people are secular. But it's all a matter of training the mind, and to train the mind, you have to abandon the created truth of a Disney Channel movie version of your life, or an animated Pixar movie version of your life. So even when it comes to concepts in Buddhism, such as karma or rebirth or reincarnation, whatever you want to call it, those have nothing to do with a Pixar movie, some kind of Hindu Pixar movie of you die and then you become an animated squirrel. That's not what those things are about. Karma is more like cause and effect. Rebirth is about moment by moment birth and death in an extremely, extremely subtle way. But most of the time, we are not scientific in our life, because it's just like trying to conduct a refined science experiment on the floor of a toilet. Okay? There's too much bacteria. There's too much mess. It's too unsanitary. It's not a clean room, so you can't be precise. Every experiment is polluted by the lack of care and consideration and cleanliness. So we have to start by cleaning our mind, and then we can experience the truth for ourselves.
Thank you so much for the answer.
Doobly asks a very interesting question. Can you teach us your whole belief in one sentence?
Don't do anything. Okay, next question.
Honor asks, what has been the most impactful takeaway you have gained from a meditation or contemplation?
Well, I haven't taken anything meaningful away from one particular meditation or contemplation. It's more about consistency and mindfulness and detachment continuously, without a person or a place or a self or an other. So in this way, the benefits that I've gotten from meditation are really founded in consistency rather than some kind of special experience. And even those special experiences that can and do happen in meditation are to be abandoned only, experienced only, used only. The moment that you fall into a self-fixation related to an experience that you have, in that moment you have fallen into created truth, and you have obfuscated your view and your understanding of the original truth, which is ever new impermanent nature, the truth of impermanence. All right, so a couple more questions on YouTube to answer. I have a hard time keeping my mind clear when in meditation. Do you have any recommendations? don't try to clear your mind in meditation. Try to just breathe and sit. Better yet, try to just do good deeds more and more. Don't try to meditate, try to do good deeds more and more. Try to donate, try to offer, try to be generous, try to be good. And listen to guided meditations, listen to instructions from teachers. You know, we've got 14-year-old kids, 18-year-old kids, 20-year-old kids, whatever they happen to be, who haven't been anywhere, haven't studied with anyone, haven't met anyone. They don't know, they haven't developed any kind of experience about Buddhism or meditation or spirituality, and they're running around and they think they're enlightened and they think they have a special understanding, and they're talking about chakras and crystals and all this kind of thing. And that's not even getting into the surface of it. That's not even touching the water of it. So we have to really be humble, and if we want to get involved in this journey, we have to follow through. We have to follow up with well-known advisors. We have to really be willing to try and develop and to learn from people who are more experienced than us. This is very, very important on the path. So it's not about just meditating. It's about finding a teacher. It's about finding good resources. And it's about having a standard that you keep of simplicity is the path. If you have a simple mind, you can be sure that this is suitable for development and for practice. If you have a complicated mind, you can be sure that you have a lot that you need to abandon. The more complicated your mind is, the more stupid you are. Period. Yes Now on YouTube says, could you talk a little bit about Buddha's teaching and the goal? Buddha's teaching is very simple. There is suffering. There is a cause of suffering, which is our desire. There is an ending of suffering. Suffering can end, and there's a path to ending suffering. And that path, most simply, is goodness, doing good deeds more and more, refraining from doing unskillful activities more and more, purifying your mind, practicing meditation, and living in accordance with wisdom, with a deeper insight into the truth, the original truth rather than the created truth. Okay. Aiden says they grew up in an abusive home. So yeah, practice loving kindness, meditation, do your best to listen to some good teachers, bring these people into your life, and this can do a lot of good to help us to heal and to grow. And then one more question here on YouTube about what do you mean by detach? I mean to give up, to let go, to abandon whatever you are fixated on, whatever you are holding on to at this moment. And one more is Smiley says, I've been meditating for about 2 years, and I haven't had more than 2 vividly conscious moments, and they were not during meditation. I feel I may be making a mistake. Any guidance is appreciated. Well, you probably are making a mistake, and that mistake is that you're seeking a special experience. You should rather seek the truth, not special experiences. So look into these resources, reach out to me, look into Ajahn Brahm, Thich Nhat Hanh, Sharon Salzberg. I put 2 links for loving kindness meditation in the YouTube chat here. So we don't just wander around blindly. We have access to everything on TikTok, and we have access to everything on YouTube. That means not just silly distractions, but also really powerful wisdom from around the world. And we need to take advantage of it, okay? We have to have relationships with well-known advisors. It's very important. Maybe another audio question?
Derpy has their hand up. Let's see if you want to come up here.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Say something one more time.
Hello?
Okay. I'm sorry if there's echo, but I've been commenting. Wait, hold on. I've been commenting mostly on the Yamcast chat, but one question that I have is the person Aiden, I'm assuming that commented you on YouTube, he told you he had an abusive home and you responded with practice love and kindness. How does that help him with his abusive home problem?
So we need to detach from a person or a place. We need to detach. We need to give up our idea about what's true and what's not true. It's your idea, so you can be sure that it's not true. Period. Start from there. In this case, we cannot control the outside world, but we can get involved with our action. Okay, we can get involved in the causes that we are creating. So if we do good deeds, we create good causes. If we do unskillful activities, we create unskillful effects. So we need to take responsibility for our own causes. We need to face the effects of our past actions. Not only our own past actions, but not only in this life, but not only in this moment, but many, many past moments. So there's a lot to face, and that is what we are facing at this moment, the results from past actions, okay, cause and effect. In this way, a spiritual teaching is about for you to be liberated, for you to be free in any position, in any place, regardless of person or place, regardless of being stuck or not. But we have to wind it back. We have to really take responsibility for ourselves first. And then we go from there. All right? Thank you, Derpy.
Thank you.
And just to clarify, that person said that they grew up in that situation. They didn't say they're still in that situation now. John Boy on YouTube says Ajahn Bante, which is a very strange way to address a monk. Are you a Theravada monk? I certainly am. And you can say Ajahn or Bante, but usually not those together. I am not enlightened. I am not above feeling pain. And enlightened people are also not above feeling pain. They feel pain. They just don't see or find a self or a soul in it. It's not my pain. It's just an experience. I've never experienced astral projection, nor am I interested in experiencing that, nor am I interested in seeking out-of-body states through meditation. The gold standard for meditation is, you're going to find that in Buddhism. You're going to find that by showing up to meditation centers, attending meditation retreats, staying at monasteries, things like that. Out-of-body experiences or astral projection that people are promoting online is not really something that has a strong lineage or a track record. So even if you do astral project, you're going to have to come back to your body. And you're going to be in the same kind of situation without spiritual relationships, without solid, good teachings, except to support you to astral project more. So we shouldn't emphasize any kind of method that is focusing on the effect of getting a special experience and then using that special experience to reify a sense of self. We should try to detach from that method. This is a method that's just going to put us into the same position of attachment, desire, and suffering over and over and over again. Okay, question from Connor. Are you allowed to value yourself and your life? Are you allowed to value yourself over others? Life has no value. Life is just life. We don't need to consult the interest rate of the U.S. government to understand about value for a body, for a person, for a place. We need to find the space to do good deeds. We need to find the space to not obey our desire, but to abandon our constant thinking, to abandon our constant self-focus. That you don't need to value yourself, you don't need to value your life, because there is no self. There is no life. There is no yourself or others. It is just cause and effect. It is just bodily and mental and physical experiences at any given moment that are conditional. You didn't make your body. Your parents didn't make your body. Your parents' parents didn't make their bodies, okay? There's no self. There's no you who's doing any of this. It's just cause and effect. But as a human being, we have an opportunity not to value ourselves, but to take responsibility for cause and effect. To take responsibility for the actions that we are taking, and to face the effects of our past actions that are expressing right now. That is what we have an opportunity to do. Okay? Doubly says, how can we know the original truth? Where did that come from? You cannot know the original truth. But without you, there is only the original truth. So try to detach, try to abandon you. Try to give up your never-ending focus on doing what you want to do and start to do what you should do. That is to do good deeds, that is to practice mindfulness and detachment, that is to purify your mind, and that is to slow down, refrain, stop doing unnecessary activities as much as possible. In this way, you will be free from a self, you will be free from worry, you will certainly be free from confusion. Yam, it looks like someone wants you to ask a question to me.
Yes, Nishant says, if someone doesn't believe in Buddhism, what would you teach them would make them so astonished about the teachings that they would actually be interested in learning about it?
I'm not interested in people becoming interested in learning about Buddhism. I'm interested in people facing their karma. I'm interested in people working to purify their mind. I'm interested in people doing more and more good deeds, acts of generosity, to donate, to be generous, to be compassionate, to try and help. The Buddha has a way of come and see. Come and see for yourself. Come and prove me wrong. Come and prove the Buddha wrong. But to do that, you have to be willing to endure. You have to be willing to show up. You don't just get to sit on the sideline and asking questions like a fool, eating popcorn and drinking soda. You have to get involved. You have to be a practitioner, not a spectator, for your questions to have any weight or any worth. Otherwise, they are just trash. And someone might be nice enough to pick up your trash for you and hand it back to you, but you're still just throwing trash around. We need to become a practitioner. We need to get involved in meditation. We need to get involved in doing good deeds. We need to get involved in mindfulness and detachment. Okay?
Derpy also asks in another chat, how do you deal with anger and hatred converted into hurting oneself physically and mentally?
Well, we need to we need to be willing to stop being idiots. So that means that you need to be willing to stop giving yourself so much empowerment. Stop obeying your desire to such a degree that every little thought or every little feeling that comes into your mind, you just do whatever it says. You need to stop doing whatever your mind says, and you need to start following. You need to start listening. You need to start learning. You need to start abandoning your constant self-focus, okay? It's not just eating candy and talking to yourself. That's not life. That's not what life has to offer, okay? There's a much bigger spectrum of ways that we can exist in the world and develop and grow and deal with our sufferings and become free. But if you're just constantly focusing on yourself, if you're not willing to abandon your desire, if you're not willing to abandon your attachment, if you're not willing to follow someone who is more experienced than you, then how are you going to learn? How are you going to deal with these problems? You're a 14-year-old, all you've ever done is watch TV, TikTok, YouTube, and eat candy, and you think you're Gandhi, you think you're the king of the world. You think you're King Kong. And so every little thought that comes into the mind, you just listen to it. You just obey it. You just follow yourself. And so, yeah, if you're doing that, you're going to be crazy and insane. You're going to do things that are ridiculous and horrible. So when there is an opportunity, when you have in your past moments or your past experiences, you've somehow found yourself in a situation where you are interested in spirituality, you're interested in meditation, you're interested in knowing about the truth, not just eating candy and watching TikTok and talking to yourself, you need to take advantage of that. But to really take advantage of that, you need to abandon this idea that you are the king of the world because you have a smartphone or because you have air conditioning, okay? Abandon. Don't hurt yourself. Abandon. Give up. Let go. Go and find a meditation center. Go and try to chase someone. Send them a bunch of messages and ask them about cha-cha-cha-cha-cha, what about this? What about that? What should I do? Where should I go? All this stuff, okay? It's too much focus on yourself. And so at that time, you're just going to act out of habit. We need to abandon our habit and we need to start prioritizing mindfulness, okay? To be aware of what is happening right now, to step into that state. There are a lot of wise people in the world. And if you know that you are an idiot, you should start listening to wise people, not talk to yourself more. Does it make sense?
Angie asks about, can you talk about the stages of reaching samadhi, as well as what it means exactly to be deserving of samadhi? Would it imply perhaps a desire for it in some way, if that makes sense? Or is it something that can come on its own, where you just know you are equal and worth the state of samadhi without needing it?
No. This is very wrong. Very wrong way to ask this question. Samadhi means concentration, a state of concentration, a state of absorption. Okay, that's what samadhi means. Don't worry about stages. Don't worry about deserving. Don't worry about desire for it. And especially don't worry about or focus on my samadhi, or if you are worth samadhi. The precursor to samadhi is doing good deeds. Okay? You need to prioritize being a good person. You need to prioritize generosity. You need to prioritize trying to help, trying to offer, trying to share, to give up what you have, to help other people. You have to start doing good deeds. Meditation is a good deed. Making donation, practicing generosity is a good deed. Following precept is a good deed, such as don't kill, don't steal, don't lie, don't speak harshly, don't commit sexual misconduct. These are also ways of doing good deeds. So eating candy and watching TikTok is not doing good deeds. And if you are just doing that or something like that, your mind is going to be overwhelmed with the effects of unnecessary actions and unskillful activities. So at that time, it's going to be very, very difficult to practice meditation. It's going to be exceedingly difficult to practice meditation if you are not involved in the practice of doing good deeds. So that's where we start. And we especially need to detach from getting this special experience. Okay? That's what you're doing already. That's why TikTok is successful. That's why starbursts are well known. Because you are getting what you want. All right? You are focusing on the effect. We need to stop focusing on the effect, and we need to start focusing on the action and how we can get ourselves into the proper conditions where those skillful actions can be supported to take place more and more.
Jubilee asks, why can't you have a sense of self and still do the right thing? What is so wrong with the enjoying of life how we see fit as long as it is moral?
You are going to lose everything. So you need to be prepared to lose everything. Okay? You are not always going to do the right thing. You are not always going to enjoy life. And life is not always going to be how you see it to be or how you want it to be. So you don't need to prepare for life to be in that way. What you need to prepare is to abandon, to lose all, to lose everything. That is what is going to happen. So you can do whatever you want to do. You can be a heroin addict living on Skid Row. You can be a meth addict living on Skid Row. A lot of people are doing it. All right? But this is not really a way to be free from suffering. This is a way that gets us stuck in the mud of the created truth. And if you want to live your whole life in the created truth, then that's okay. You should do good deeds as much as you can. But if you want to know about the truth, then you should abandon the sense of someone or something or someplace. And you should practice to do only, to experience only, okay? To be good only. No need to add a self, a someone, or a something.
Astra Elise asks, is karma a pattern you carry with you, or is it something we create in real time?
Both. But primarily it's just cause and effect. That relates to our intentionality. So if you know, what do we mean by doing good deeds? It means that you have the good intention to help, to bring benefit. All right?
Yazik asks, what is your fondest memory?
This moment is my fondest memory. And look, it's already gone.
Morgana Lamp asks, what are your thoughts on New Age spirituality, especially among young people, also spiritual bypassing and such?
Yeah, I mean, it's spiritual bypassing in itself isn't a problem if spiritual bypassing is a means to get more and more involved in practice. Because you're not going to spiritually bypass anything when you're meditating, 8 hours a day and you're following precepts and you're a monk or a nun living at a temple. You're not going to spiritual bypass anything if you're practicing correctly. The issue is trying to find a way to make our spirituality TikTok and starbursts. All right, that's not spirituality. And it's also this idea that there is a shallowness or a surface levelness to spirituality or to meditation. It's as deep as you can comprehend. It's It's something that is about the truth that is experienced at this moment and that does not rely on concepts or words or phrases. So how you go about experiencing that is not to find people who have colorful outfits on or dreadlocks or many smells and many crystals, but to look into Buddhism, look into meditation. Go and visit meditation centers in your area. Go and visit Buddhist temples in your area. If there is a Buddhist monk that you come across, you should investigate him. You should try to follow him to the degree that you can, or them, can be a woman. If we meet someone who we think is a well-known advisor that has a certain degree of experience, we should be willing to bother them, to follow them, to chase them down, to make a problem for them. And you should be ready to be rejected depending on who that person is. But we need to practice like this to chase down the truth, to get more and more involved. And at the beginning, if it's New Age spirituality or if it's spiritual bypassing, it doesn't matter unless that's where you stop. If that's where you start, okay, get more involved. Start to join a meditation group. Start to practice generosity. Start to follow precepts. Start to listen to Ajahn Brahm, Thich Nhat Hanh, some of the high-level Buddhist teachers that are accessible on YouTube. And if you do that, then you don't need to worry so much about where you began. You start to be more invested in where you are at this moment. And where you are at this moment is free of a person or a place, someone or something.
Zoe says, many people through their spiritual journey come to the conclusion that the majority of belief systems are explaining the same things and outline similar principles, but just use different names or metaphors, etc. What about Buddhism and the tradition you practice made you feel like it was the best framing, value prioritization, and set of practices for you to follow?
If you don't invest, what you say doesn't matter. The more that you invest, the more that what you say matters. And we invest by practicing mindfulness and detachment, by getting more and more involved in meditation, more and more involved in generosity, more and more involved in doing good deeds, and more involved in abandoning a sense of someone or something, giving it up. So we might have an idea of, oh yeah, we're all talking about the same things, and we're just using different names and metaphors and stuff. But a lot of times the people who are bringing that up are not involved. They are not shareholders. They are not practitioners. They are just spectators that are riding on the carpet of their privilege to speak nonsense and to disturb and confuse people. So we need to do our best to get involved, and that is to have a practice of goodness and a practice of simplicity-based meditation. That's what I think about that. And why does Buddhism connect with me the most? It's just what connects with me the most. Buddhism is a unique religion. Buddhism is a unique philosophy. There are not other modern religions or systems that are even close to what Buddhism is in terms of spirituality. Okay? Buddhism has a monk system of countries that are run by basically Buddhist monks and Buddhist temples and the Buddhist institution, full-time spiritualists. Okay? No other tradition has anything like this. And somehow, since ancient India, the Buddha, Shakyamuni Buddha, who became enlightened, formed this order and this tradition of Buddhist monasticism, of full-time spiritualists we call monks. Western people don't know what a monk is. We don't have this idea anymore in our society. But no other tradition has anything like this. Even in Hinduism, sure, there are monks, but they are sadhus, but they are all over the place. They are not organized. There are so many different traditions, so many different perspectives. They're worshiping so many different deities in so many different ways. Whereas Buddhism, since ancient India, somehow has maintained and actually become the dominant philosophy in the countries in which it has taken root. In China, in Korea, in Japan, in Vietnam, in Thailand, Myanmar, Laos, Cambodia, Sri Lanka. Somehow this tradition of Buddhism has become exceptionally successful philosophically, scientifically, and also humanly, so that you can join and live and be a monk for the rest of your life. You know, it's not just, oh, we believe in this philosophy, time to go to the bar. It's something totally different. And it's something that is very accessible in the modern world. It's not perfect, but it is a unique tradition and something that I'm very happy to be a part of.
I see you have some questions on your live. Perhaps you'd
Let me
the
see here.
opportunity to answer.
Does suicide end suffering? No. Suicide is something that people do because they are suffering so much, and the only thing they know how to do is hurt themselves more. So certainly it doesn't end suffering. It's just an act with the intention to harm as deeply and fully as we can. So it's actually a kind of manifestation of the deeper confusion that is setting that mindset in motion anyway. That person is suffering so much already because they have this kind of way of living that is based on harming themselves and beating themselves up. And sometimes it's not something we can avoid, to be in such a state of suffering. But to harm yourself more is not how we end suffering. You can be sure about that. Can I explain what the statues behind me symbolize? They symbolize waking up. The Buddha, Shakyamuni Buddha, represents the human capacity, the human ability to become enlightened, to become free from suffering. And so that is what the Buddha represents. What happens after death? When you die, I'll give you my number. You can call me and let me know. Let us all know. I'll make a post about it on my Facebook once you die, and you let me know about it, okay? Send me a text. So these will be our final two questions, okay? Because I have another place I need to go to today.
Of course, yeah. Oslo asks, what is your view on manifestation?
Manifestation is, I don't know. What is manifestation? And this is another point, is that our practice and our way of thinking and our spirituality is so vague, it's so vapid, it's so empty of any kind of embodiment, of any kind of lived experience, of any kind of relationships. This is not what spirituality is supposed to be. Manifestation, secret hertz, 565 hertz, watch this TikTok and then you'll have blue skin. It's just nonsense. It's vapid, it's empty, it is meaningless. And the greatest joy of spirituality is meaningfulness, is intimacy, is this kind of wonderful and deep, rich connection that we can have with other human beings who are also on this path. So what is manifestation? Doesn't mean anything. My foot is more important than manifestation. Right? What are you going to do? Are you going to trade your foot? Are you going to choose your foot? Or are you going to choose, matter of fact, are you going to choose my foot? Or are you going to choose, quote unquote, manifestation? I would hope that you're going to choose my foot. You're not going to take away someone's foot from them because, of a general idea of what manifestation is, right? So choose your foot and abandon manifestation. And when you are walking at the supermarket or when you are going for a walk in nature, so beautiful, so fresh, so pure, whatever nature it happens to be, when you start to think about manifesting, think about footing instead. Just breathing, just being mindful of your foot at this moment. Okay? So I think we will end our session here. I want to thank Yam so much for having me. This was really a treat, Yam. I really
Thank you very
appreciate
much.
you. And
My pleasure.
maybe we'll do this again sometime, and maybe we'll connect further sometime, Yam. All right?
Of course. Enjoy your retreat.
Okay, so I'll offer a chanting to everyone before we finish, okay? It's a Buddhist chanting.
Great.
And everyone's invited to bring their hands together in a prayer position if you like, as we do this. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Sadhu. 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 Okay, thank you all for joining, and if you'd like to keep up with me and to join for regular group meditations, you're welcome to check out my Discord server and keep in touch, all right? Thank you, Yam. See you all again soon.
You, Bante.